everybody. This is the second webcast in the new and improved YouTube series of Case to Case. And I'm going to be talking about the Amanda Knox case. As many of you know, I held sort of a debate last Sunday, trying out a new format of the podcast where I debate certain topics, as you can see from the graphic. A debate was supposed to take place between Lisa Marie Basili and myself about whether or not Amanda Knox was guilty. As many of you know, that's not what happened at all. Some of you were upset about it. Some of you were actually pretty happy with the outcome of that entire podcast or hangout, if you want to call it that. Um, the response that I got on Twitter, on Facebook, on Ask FM, on my blog, etc., it led me to decide to make this little production, I guess you want to call it that. Um, the evidence against Amanda Knox. Now, since I'm not going to be debating with anybody, I'm just going to produce the evidence as I know it that's against her. I'm going to use some research to back it up. And hopefully, those of you who are watching this will walk away a little bit more informed about the murder of Meredith Kircher and the two people who are currently free right now that are very well responsible for her death. One of the more widely shared myths in the Amanda Knox case is the claim that there's no evidence that Amanda was even at the scene of the crime the night that Meredith Kircher was murdered. Other variations of this claim go a little something like, oh, there's no evidence at all that Amanda participated in the killing. Some people say that there's no evidence of her in the room where Meredith was found, and they rely solely on this. And other people try to disregard all the evidence, period, and try to say that there's only one person responsible for the killing, Rudy Guide, and he's behind bars already. The fact of the matter is that there's hundreds of pages of analysis of the evidence against all three: Amanda Knox, Raphael Salichto, and Rudy Guide. All three of these suspects acted together, and the evidence proves this. As you can see from this next slide, I have the evidence separated into three different categories. And this isn't an official thing, this is just how I separate it to make it easier for me to explain it and absorb it myself. I've separated the evidence into three categories: physical, behavioral, and testimonial. The physical evidence would be, it's pretty self explanatory: the DNA, the presence of the knife, the bra clasp. Behavioral evidence would describe Amanda's behavior, Raffaele's behavior, um, the elements surrounding the circumstances of this case. And testimonial would be what witnesses have said about the suspects involved in this murder. In my opinion, one of the most damning bits of evidence against Amanda and Raphael is the forensic exam of Raphael's computer. And the reason why I say this is because it contradicts their entire alibi, or at least one of their alibis. Um, the story that everyone believes, or what the media has people believe here in the United States, um, is that the two of them had stayed in Raphael's apartment all night. They downloaded movies, they smoked marijuana, and had sex. But a forensic exam of Raphael's computer revealed that there was no internet activity and no activity on the PC through the night of the murder of Meredith Kircher. So that completely blows a hole into that alibi. Something else that piques my interest in this case, when it comes to physical evidence, is the neck injury that Amanda had the day after Meredith's murder. Now, Amanda has argued that it was a hickey, and there are hickeys that kind of look like that. They're more like bite marks than hickeys, but I couldn't help but notice how much it looks like a fingernail scratch mark. Um, in any normal case, without the DNA being what it is in this case, one couldn't help but assume that Meredith fought back, and Meredith did that to Amanda. Um, but it was found that there was no DNA, no skin or anything underneath Meredith's fingernails. So, what caused Amanda's injury? I have a few theories. They're probably a little far fetched, or at least one of them might be. But I couldn't help but not look at the different possibilities because to me that doesn't really look like a hickey. It could be. I'm not going to completely deny that that could be a sex related mark. But I wonder if something else happened. Um, an example could be maybe Meredith did fight back, but it wasn't her fingernail that inflicted that injury. Maybe while she was being restrained, maybe Raphael accidentally scratched Amanda. Or maybe Rudy accidentally scratched Amanda. Or maybe Amanda accidentally scratched herself. Um, in looking at the behavioral evidence in this case, Amanda reportedly hit herself in the head when she was frustrated about being fingerprinted. So I have to wonder, did Amanda inflict that injury on herself during some kind of stressful moment? To some people, these may seem like I said, far fetched, but these theories are worth looking at. I'm not defending Rudy Guede, but I think it's unfair that the way that the PR machine surrounding Amanda Knox has amplified his character and his image into the big bad wolf when he did nothing really different from Amanda Knox and Raphael Solecito. One of the main myths that goes around about Rudy Guede is that he was a quote drifter and a career criminal, somebody who had been convicted of numerous crimes. Basically, the kind of guy that you don't want to meet in a dark alley. And the truth of the matter is that he's not a drifter. He had lived in Perugia basically his entire life. He had his own apartment not far from Raphael's place. And if he is a drug dealer, it doesn't really necessarily matter because Raphael himself had been busted for drug possession. And Amanda Knox's criminal record, although not very major, still exists. So the point that I'm trying to make is that all three of these suspects lived pretty much the same kind of lifestyle. All three of them came from the same kind of class of people, and they all had similar criminal records. Yet, in the defense of Amanda Knox and Raphael Solecito, their supporters have tried to smear and demonize Rudy Guede to the point to where he's like a big bad wolf character. And most of the stuff that's said about him and repeated about him isn't even true. Now, I'm not defending him. He is a murderer. He's as responsible for Meredith's death as Amanda and Raphael. But I feel that there's a lot of racial interference with this case. And I know that a lot of people are going to accuse me of race baiting, and I don't really care. Because those people, to me, they're just afraid. They're afraid to open their eyes and really look at the truth. I'm going to go a little bit further here and say that racism plays a really large role in this case, not only among Amanda Knox's supporters, but in general. Need I remind you that Amanda had falsely accused Patrick Lumumba, an innocent black man, and let him sit in prison for weeks. This is someone who he did nothing to her. She had no reason to put this man in jail and accuse him of murdering somebody and raping somebody. He had done nothing but be nice to her and good to her and give her work. And then he ended up in prison, falsely accused of Meredith Kircher's murder. Or in jail, rather. Thankfully, he was released. Thankfully, the true suspects were eventually apprehended. But two of them are free. And the racism continues, I think. Because people are very quick to believe that Rudy Guede is a drifter, a repeat criminal, a scary, scary black man. That's what I think the PR machine relies upon when it comes to espousing Amanda Knox's guilt. And I think it's wrong. And there might be people out there that don't believe me and don't agree with me because a lot of Amanda Knox's supporters are, in fact, liberal. And we just can't have any racist liberals now, can we? But if you follow this case and you watch the goings on and you pay attention to the debates and the arguments and the things that are being said, everybody is completely okay and completely comfortable believing that Rudy Guede raped and murdered Meredith Kircher all by himself. They are very quick to believe all of the evidence against him. Yet that same evidence produced by that same court, by that same so-called corrupt justice system that convicted Rudy Guede that everyone is okay with, nobody agrees about it with Amanda Knox. Why? Because she just couldn't kill anybody, could she? But why do they say that? Because she's an American girl next door? Or because she's the white American girl next door? I have a feeling that if Amanda Knox was really Maria Gonzalez, this case wouldn't be the divisive mess that it is.